It is possible that the Antichrist has already been presented to the world and that no one has noticed. Many people believe that the biblical prophecies are beginning to come true in our generation, and one of the most debated theories points to Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's son-in-law, as a key figure in this narrative. But what is true in this? Could Jared Kushner fit into the description given by the Bible about the Antichrist? In this video, we are going to analyze what the Bible really says about the Antichrist, who is Jared Kushner, and why his name has generated so much debate among Christians and scholars. Is it just a coincidence, or is there something else behind these theories? This topic could change the way you interpret current events. Let's begin. Donald Trump won the U.S. presidential elections again in 2024, something that many people consider a key moment in recent history. For some, this return to power is a reason for hope, but a chance to change the course of the country and regain certain values. But for others, especially some Christians, this victory has generated concern. Why? Because there is a theory that connects this event with the biblical prophecies about the Antichrist. According to this idea, Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, it could be that figure mentioned in the scriptures. Kushner is not only known for his role as a key advisor during Trump's first term, but also for his great influence on political and economic issues, both inside and outside the United States. Those who support this theory point out things like his role in important Middle Eastern agreements, his ability to maintain a low profile, despite his power and his connections with world leaders. According to them, these details could fit with the biblical descriptions of the Antichrist. The Bible describes the Antichrist as a leader who will appear before the end of time. Someone extremely intelligent and charismatic who will have the ability to deceive the whole world with his promises. This character will offer solutions to global problems, promising peace and stability. But behind that facade, a dark and evil plan is hidden. According to the scriptures, he will rule for 3.5 years, a time in which he will gain the trust of many nations. But then he will reveal his true nature, bringing chaos and destruction. And you're going to say that after mental ideas, Jesus and virtuoso presta figura, como una de las señales del fin, lo que he elevado a muchos eventos actuales y a cualquier líder que pueda encajar con esta descripción. In books such as Daniel, Apocalypse, and I of Thessalonians, there are several key characteristics of the Antichrist. He will be a charismatic leader, able to attract the masses and convince many nations to follow him. At the beginning, he will appear to be just, compassionate, and will bring with him the hope of world peace and prosperity. However, he will use his influence to deceive and separate people from the truth, opposing directly the plan of salvation of God. His true objective will be to establish his own power, controlling political, economic, and religious aspects of the nations. The Bible also mentions signs and events that could coincide with the arrival of the Antichrist. Between these signals, an initial period of apparent peace is included, where this leader will be recognized for resolving conflicts and establishing important agreements. He will seek to centralize political and economic power, possibly through a global government system or a unified economy. In addition, it will carry out apparently miraculous acts to confuse people and gain more followers. Those who oppose its plans, especially believers, will face persecution. These signs have led many to reflect on the events that are taking place. 2. Like the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain, to improve relations between them. The Bible, in Daniel 9:27, speaks of the fact that the Antichrist will make a pact with many for a week, which some believe could be a peace agreement in the Middle East. This has caused some to see this event as something that fits with that prophecy. This treaty sought to establish peace and improve relations between Israel and the Middle East. Personas was a great step towards peace in the Middle East. Jared Kushner's role was key. As Donald Trump's main advisor and president's son-in-law, he was the one who led the negotiations and designed the agreement. His ability to mediate between nations and close such a complicated deal put him at the center of attention worldwide. Some consider that this reflects characteristics of the Antichrist, who, according to the Bible, will be an influential leader capable of achieving this type of agreement. How does this connect with Daniel's prophecy? In Daniel 9:27, a peace pact is mentioned that the Antichrist will confirm, but it will be temporal and deceitful, breaking in half its duration. Although Abraham's agreements do not fulfill this prophecy in a literal way, the fact that it is a peace treaty in the Middle East and that it involves Israel, it makes it seem like a sign or a foretaste of what the scriptures predict. Second, Jared Kushner is also known for his strong connection with Israel and his role in important political decisions related to this country. Kushner is an Orthodox Jew, and his marriage to Ivanka Trump, who converted to Judaism, reinforces even more its link with the Jewish culture and religion. This connection brings him directly to prophetic themes related to Israel, which is central in many of the biblical prophecies. In addition, Kushner has a close relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu, Primer Ministro de Israel, lo que le ha dado acceso directo y influencia en las decisiones nación. Durante el mandato de Trump, Kushner desempeñó un papel clave en moldear la política de Estados Unidos hacia Israel, something that some consider significant in the context of the prophecies. Among the most important decisions supported by Kushner is the transfer of the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem in 2018. This act generated international controversy and tensions in the region, but it was also seen by some as a step towards the fulfillment of the prophecy of Zechariah 1:2-3, which speaks of Jerusalem as a heavy stone for the nations. Another key decision was the recognition of the Golan Heights as Israeli territory, something that also had important implications in international relations. These actions, although political, have been interpreted by some as symbolic movements within the framework of the biblical prophecies about Israel. In the scriptures, it is mentioned that the Antichrist will have great influence in Israel, especially in events related to Jerusalem and possibly with the reconstruction of the Third Temple. Tercero, one of the elements that most feeds the theories about Jared Kushner and his possible connection with the Antichrist is the property of the tower located at 666 Fifth Avenue, New York. For many, this address and its relationship with the number are a mystery. 666 of Apocalypse 1318 are a disturbing sign that connects Kushner with the prophetic figure mentioned in the Bible. In 2007, Jared Kushner's family business bought the 666 Fifth Avenue building for $800 million. Mascara in a cement, Eddie Physio, and it'll move to attention. No solo por su costo, si not ambient. Por su direction symbolica. Enumero se cientos, says, and I say, it's not really, I don't know, in the beach you don't have the ability to get. With the figure of the beast in Apocalypse 1:3-18, where it is described as the number of a man many see in this property, a sign that Kushner could be related to the figure of the Antichrist. This passage mentions that 666 will be a number associated with the system of the Antichrist, a leader who will have control over the economies and governments of the world. The fact that the Kushner family had this tower in the heart of New York, one of the most influential cities in economic and cultural terms, has led some to speculate about its possible connection with the global financial power that the Bible attributes to the Antichrist. Some theorists point out that the influence of the Antichrist will be linked to the control of the world's economic structures, something that could be linked symbolically to the property of this building in a key financial center, such as New York. Fourth, there are biblical interpretations that suggest that the Antichrist could have a link with Israel, or even come from the tribe of Dan. These ideas arise from specific passages in the scriptures that, although they do not directly mention the Antichrist, to reflect on his possible connection, in Genesis 49 verse 17, Jacob blessing his children describes Adam as a serpent on the road, a viper next to the path, who bites the heels of the horse and makes the rider fall. Some see in this metaphor a reference to deception and cunning, characteristics that are also attributed to the Antichrist in the Bible. Thank you. For these interpretations, Dan could symbolize a source of darkness or betrayal within Israel. Another point that generates speculations is that in the book of Apocalypse, specifically in chapter 7, when the tribes of Israel, sealed by God, are enumerated, the tribe of Dan does not appear. This has led some to think that this absence is intentional, and that it could be related to a different prophetic role, or even negative, such as the emergence of the Antichrist. This point is combined with modern theories that relate Jared Kushner, an Orthodox Jew with close ties with Israel, with this prophetic figure. It is important to remember that these interpretations are speculative and do not represent an absolute truth. However, for many believers, these details are a call to reflect on biblical prophecies and to remain spiritually alert in today's times. Fifth, Jared Kushner has not only been involved in politics and diplomacy, en proyectos relacionados, content no lo avanza durante el mandato Donald Trump, Kushner, Hugo, un papel importante en la integración de la tecnología, con el gobierno trabajando para modernizar procesos y vincular innovaciones tecnológicas con políticas públicas. Además, it has close connections with Silicon Valley, the epicenter of technological innovation in areas such as artificial intelligence, digital surveillance, and the development of advanced systems. This relationship with technology has drawn the attention of those who analyze the biblical prophecies, especially those that mention the mark of the beast and the mark of the beast. In Apocalypse 13:16-17, according to this passage, the Antichrist will implement a system where no one will be able to buy or sell without carrying this mark. which could be related to technologies such as implantable microchips or massive digital surveillance systems. The fact that Kushner has influence in these areas has led some to speculate about its possible connection with the prophetic figure of the Antichrist. Although these theories are not definitive, the development of advanced technologies that could allow total control over the economy and people seems to align with the biblical descriptions of the end times. It is important to mention that, although the Bible does not detail how the mark of the beast will be implemented, many believe that the advancement of technologies such as artificial intelligence, digital identification systems, and microchips could be a step in that direction. El papel de Kushner como alguien conectado con estos desarrollos, it's a capacity to influence decisions, political and global economic decisions. They put it as a relevant figure for these speculations. Are there other candidates that could be the Antichrist? Throughout the years, many people have been pointed out as possible candidates to be the Antichrist. Some examples include famous leaders such as Napoleon, Hitler, and other important politicians of his time. This happens because the Bible describes the Antichrist as someone powerful, charismatic, and with great influence. And these characteristics make people wonder if any known figure could fit into that description. Today, with the advancement of technology, theories not only focus on political leaders, but also on important figures in the technological world. Some believe that people related to the development of artificial intelligence, microchips, or digital surveillance systems could be linked to the type of global control that the Bible mentions with the mark of the beast. Now comes a very important part. How should Christians interpret and react to theories like this? When we hear theories about the Antichrist, the most important thing for Christians is to remember that our focus should be on Christ, not on dark figures or fear. The Bible calls us to focus our faith and our life on Jesus. In Hebrews 12:2, we are told, "Let us look at Jesus, the author and consumer of faith." This means that our priority should be to seek Christ, strengthen our relationship with Him, and live with hope. Jesus warned us that before His return, false Christs and prophets would appear, but He also taught us that vigilance no significa obsisionars o tener miedo. In Matthew 24:42, it calls us to be attentive, but that implies living faithfully and obeying God, not worrying about identifying who could be the Antichrist. Focusing too much on these theories will lead to confusion. It can be dangerous because it distracts us from the most important thing: to share the gospel, to love others, and to live lives that honor God. In addition, these ideas often generate fear, anxiety, and unnecessary debates instead of peace and trust in God. The Bible assures us in John 16:33 that Jesus has already conquered the world. This message gives us peace and reminds us that, no matter what happens, our hope is in Him. Christians must seek Christ every day, trust in His plan, and fulfill our mission. Be light in the world, share His love, and live with faith. Theories about the Antichrist can generate curiosity, but they should never take us away from what really matters. Follow Jesus with all our heart and live with the certainty that He has control. The Bible warns us about the temptation to speculate and draw hasty conclusions about prophecies. Jesus was very clear when He said that only God knows the exact times of the final events. But of the day and the hour, no one knows, not even the angels of the heavens, but only my Father, Matthew 24:36. This means that even if we can identify signs, we will never have a definitive answer as to when or how these things will occur. In addition, Jesus compared His return with a thief who arrives at night, something unexpected. In 1 Thessalonians 2. This call is a reminder that our focus must be on living every day according to His will, instead of trying to anticipate events that are out of our control. The prophecies are there to guide us, not to distract us or to generate fear, but to remind us that God is in command and that our role is to be spiritually prepared. To correctly interpret the biblical prophecies about the Antichrist and the events of the end of times, it is essential to consider the historical and cultural context in which they were written. Many of these prophecies not only had a meaning for the future, but they also applied immediately to the people of the time. For example, Daniel's book was written during a time of great oppression for the Jews under the dominion of foreign empires. Daniel's visions and prophecies not only did they offer hope to the people, but they also warned about leaders and events that would occur in the short and long term. In a similar way, the book of Apocalypse was written in a context of severe persecution against Christians, especially in Auschwitz, of the Roman Empire. His messages were designed to strengthen the faith of believers at that time when they pointed to even bigger events in God's plans. Understanding this context helps us avoid misinterpretations, or too literal, images and symbols used in prophecies. The Bible teaches us that God has absolute control over history and that nothing can frustrate his redemptive plan. In Psalm 103, verse 19, it is stated, "The Lord has established his throne in heaven, and his kingdom dominates over all." The Lord has established his throne in heaven, and his kingdom dominates over all. And in Isaiah 46, verse 10, God declares, "I announce the end from the beginning, and I will do all that I will." These passages remind us that everything that happens, even the darkest events, happens within God's perfect plan. This includes the appearance of the Antichrist. According to the scriptures, this event is not out of God's control, but will be allowed within his sovereign purpose for the fulfillment of his final plan. Although the Antichrist will bring difficult times, the believers can be sure. Remember that no matter how uncertain or difficult the circumstances may seem, God is at the helm. Instead of fearing the events that will come, we must remain firm in our faith, knowing that the kingdom of God is within us. These are just theories, ideas that have arisen when trying to connect current events with biblical prophecies. None of these speculations is compared to the absolute and perfect knowledge of God. He has control of everything, and his plan will be fulfilled as he has determined it. Although we should not be obsessed with these theories, it's important to be well informed about what's going on in the world and to reflect in the light of God's word. This helps us to be attentive, strengthened in our faith and focused on what really matters, our relationship with Christ. For joining me in this analysis, I would love to know your opinion, so I invite you to leave your comments below. Do not forget that 2 videos will appear on the screen specially selected for you, which will surely interest you. See you in the next video, and may God bless you.